And next up, growing your farm or ranch operation is far more than simply producing the biggest yields or the most pounds. Those who have found financial success in their agricultural operations are more likely to find the success through a balanced management approach. I recently connected with Nebraska Extension agricultural economist Matt Stockton to discuss some of the keys for long-term profitability for farmers and ranchers. A business isn't one single thing. It is in fact a series of events and priorities to be tended to. This is especially true when it comes to the business of agricultural production. Between tending to your crops, livestock, land, and care agreements, there are a multitude of hurdles for producers to clear when seeking profitable outcome from their efforts.
You have this living entity called a business, and you've got to keep it alive and growing so that it survives and does well, and in return, it provides you with a good income. And that's kind of an analogy, but it's also kind of interesting because that's what businesses are in a sense. And so being balanced means you don't just do one thing. In other words, if you're really good at planting corn seeds and really bad at harvesting, that doesn't work. If you're really good at maybe producing corn, but maybe not good at controlling cost, that doesn't. So it's a series of things that you do. A business is a lot of different things, and you have to put together and all those things together, especially in the long run, and make it work. Business is like that. It's kind of like if you're doing things right, the things that you do right work with other things and make other things easier. And so the effort, and so it builds, you actually get more than you would if you didn't have that synergy. So you want to build your business in such a way that things work together and that you have things put together in such a way that you get as much synergy from that as possible, because it basically amplifies your efforts.
Two types of knowledge that are vital to having a well-balanced operation are technical and actualization. Technical knowledge will be specific to the overall operation, whereas actualization can be a more abstract concept that will require a bit of self-reflection.
But over the years, I've come to realize that the people that are truly successful at business, they know what's going on. They know what's going on with them. They know what their strengths are. They know what their weaknesses are. They know what they need to do to solve the deficit, if there is one. They don't necessarily do everything themselves, but they understand enough to know that this I do well, I can do. This I don't do well, I need help with, and I find somebody to do it with me or for me, or find another way to get it done. And that actualization means that this is the way it is, and you know how to deal with reality, and you kind of know what that is. And that takes effort. So you have to look at it and be realistic and actualize, meaning that you have to recognize what are the things that you can do, what are the things you can't do, and what are the things you need to do, and get those things done one way or the other. And the people that are really successful really understand the reality of what's going on, and they accept the responsibility and solve the problem. So that's actualization.
No matter how much is accomplished within an agricultural operation, it always seems more could be done. It's always important during down periods of the year to evaluate performance of your operation, as well as goal progression and new goals to achieve. Without honest self-evaluation and new goals to strive toward, you may end up as confused as Alice talking with the Cheshire Cat.
Well, in the article that you read that referred you to me, said something about a white rabbit in a Alice in Wonderland. And I really think that describes it really well, because if you don't have a direction, the Cheshire Cat basically says, well, it doesn't really matter which way you go if you really don't know where you're going. And so it's kind of that way with accomplishing things. I mean, if you're farming and you don't know what you want to accomplish as far as your farm or where you want to, what you're trying to do, how are you going to get there? It would be an accident that you got where you wanted to be if you really weren't setting goals or thinking about getting there. You have to do it with forethought and thinking. I mean, purposeful use of materials and time to make it the way you want to make it, and then to keep it that way takes effort and energy. And that's exactly what goals are. They're the things that you're going to do to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, so that you end up with what you intend to have. If you don't do that, there's no way to get there unless by accident, which, I guess you could get there by accident, but that would be a really interesting deal. It's probably not going to happen. You know what I mean?
You may have heard the term profit isn't everything, and while that phrase does ring true in some cases, it's also undeniable without sustained profitability, your operation could be subject to financial risk at some point down the road. It's important to keep in mind the unique qualities that define your operation when finding your inlet to profit.
The thing that I think is that profitability, it's kind of like in the beginning, it says profitability isn't everything, but it sure beats a loss. And and that's true. Being profitable isn't the most important thing in the world, because our families are more important. There's a lot of things that are more important but at the same time, without profitability, you're not going to be able to feed your family. You're not going to be able to do some of the things. So the take home is you need to be thinking about what it is you're doing, and that you need to be profitable as you can be given the circumstances you're in. And that's going to be different for everyone, and that your farm cannot be compared to someone else's farm, and that the way you do it's going to be different than what somebody else does. But that if you work at it and think about it, there is a way to be profitable. You just got to find it.